Okay, I'm going to show you an easy way to make a ridge line. If you tie a rope to one end of the tarp and tie it to the tree and do the same thing on the other side, it's kind of hard to center the tarp over your hammock. So one way you could do it is if you have your ridge line tied to the tree, and then you could have a prusik. You can either do a prusik knot. You can either start with a loop like this, or just a string with the ends untied like that. Either way, we'll do it with this one to start. So what you do is you have these two, have your rope like that, bring the ends through, and pull it down so it looks like that. Now that knot there is called a lark's head. That's what it looks like on that side. That's what it looks like on that side. That's a lark's head. That's going to be important too for something else I'm going to show you here in a minute. But what you do is you take it through a couple times. So that's twice. And it's important to kind of get them so they're not all crossed over each other. See, I got 2 loops on this side and 2 loops on that side. Now I'm going to separate them a little bit, and I'm going to do it one more time. Run it through this loop up here on top. Get them nice and neat. It's kind of important to get them neat to get the full benefit of it. So now it's a Prusik knot. I got 3 loops on this side of these 2 strings and 3 loops on that side. And then this is what it looks like on the other side. So the purpose of this knot is you can slide it up and down, but as soon as you put weight on it, then it stops, it locks in place. And then to get it to loosen up, you can pull down on this loop here, pull down on that, and you can loosen the tension, like if your tarps are tied to it, get it to where you want it, adjust it to where you want it at, and then tighten it back down, and it'll lock in place again. One very important thing to know with Prusik knots is they're actually designed for this cord to be a smaller diameter than the cord you're tying it to. So doing it like this, these are both the same rope, same diameter and everything, it won't hold as good if you had a smaller diameter. So you would take this, you'd put one over here and then another one here, and then you could take this and tie it to your grommets of your tarp, and then now your tarps, you can adjust the tarp wherever you want it at on your above your hammock. And you can leave this attached, leave this tied to your tarp and everything, and leave the ridgeline on there all the time, or you can just have your ridgeline set up like this, tie it up first, and then just, you know, put this in the grommets of your tarp or whatever. And there's other ways to do this through the grommets. You can do toggles and all kinds of stuff, but the important thing is just to you know, for me right now, it's just to show you how to tie the Prusik knot and show you that, you know, it's a way to do a tarp setup, whether it's a cheap Walmart blue tarp or, you know, a more expensive tarp that you buy or whatever. I just wanted to show you that you can do that and have 2 of these that your tarp's hanging from, and you can adjust it one way or the other to get it centered over where your hammock's at, and it makes life a lot easier. And I'm going to show you one more little bonus tip on tarps and stuff. Okay, so you can take this, these are hair, not braids, but elastic bands for hairs for, you know, women tying up ponytails or something like that. These particular ones are clasp free, meaning they don't have that little metal band on there. So one of the things that you could do is on your tie outs for your cord, and I'll show you here in a minute mine, but you could take and imagine this is one of those loops, one of these loops. You could take it on your grommet of your tarp and then just do a lark's head like this and pull it tight. And like I said, that's the lark's head that I showed you earlier. And then you could take your cord that you're going to tie to your stakes and tie that cord to this, and then run your cord down to your stake and everything. What that does is, with these being elastic, they'll stretch and everything. And a lot of tarps, especially like seal nylon tarps and stuff, they'll stretch when they get wet, which causes your line and stuff to loosen. Well, with this, with that elastic cord on there, and then your cord tied to that, and you got that elastic stretched out, then if the tarp does stretch, it kind of keeps it keeps your cord tight and your tarp tight. If you use some elastic like this, you could buy shot cord, you know, better quality, and it might last longer. But these are cheap and easy. And if one of them does break, I spent a couple dollars. There's 32 of them here. I spent a couple dollars for them, so that would get you by for a long time. And or just steal some from your wife or whatever. But I'll show you what they look like on a tarp. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, if you decide to get a little fancier with your tarp, the Ridgeline and stuff, instead of using paracord, when it stretches when it gets wet and everything. It's going to cause your tarp to sag and all that kind of stuff. You have to be constantly tightening and everything. It works, it gets the job done, but if you want to save some hassle, get some either Lash It or Zing It. Either one of those. They're a small diameter rope. They don't stretch. They got about a 500-pound weight limit, and they really good for camping stuff and tarps and everything. Get you that cord, and I'll show you that here in a second. And then get you some of these from Nama Gear. They're called Nama Claws, but you can buy them from namagear.com. And then what they are is these little metal things. And if you watched one of my recent videos, I was switching my tarp over from Prusik ropes to these Nama Claws, but the cord feeds through the end here, and then it'll sit on your tarp just like these Prusik loops would. But you can loosen them and pull your tarp out where you want it, and whenever you let go, this comes down and locks in, and it keeps the tarp from sliding that way. And then you have one on this side facing the opposite way, and then it's really easy to adjust and everything. And then if you had a loop tied to the end of your tarp, you could just stick it through this little notch there and hook it up, and you can leave it like that, leave your Ridgeline hooked up to your tarp if you want to, or you could take it off each time and just have these on your Ridgeline, just like you would have these on your Ridgeline, and then just hook the loop of your tarp through it and do it that way. So I'm going to show you this other stuff. Okay, so this is my tarp. I got the guy out. I got a shot cord, but it would be the same thing as your those little hair ties that I was showing you a minute ago, and you can Lark's head them through the loop on your tarp, and then take your string and tie it to the other end of that ponytail holder, and then tie that down. And then as your tarp stretches and everything, that keeps tension on your line. And of course, whenever you tie this out, you want tension on that elastic cord. But that's how that works. And it does a few things. It keeps your tarp tight, especially like I said, if you got a seal nylon tarp, it keeps your tarp tight. But it also helps if somebody, you're walking along and you trip over it or something. It helps protect the tarp, so it allows a little give so it doesn't rip your tarp. And the Nama Claws right here on my tarp, they work out really well. And what I did is, since I like to leave my Ridgeline attached to my tarp all the time, if you look, I did a double loop. I actually did a Lark's head on that, and that keeps it, because at first when I just had it looped on there, as I was packing and unpacking, sometimes that would come undone. But since I've put that double that Lark's head on there, it stayed on there. I've packed and unpacked it 6 or 7 times now, and it's still working good. And this line is the Zing It. Like I said, either Zing It or Lash It. It's a 1.75 millimeter line, and that's what you need for these to work. And it's a really tough, strong line. It won't shrink. It won't stretch. And same thing with that yellow line. That's Lash It, and the gray line is Zing It. Lash It is the only difference is Lash It is kind of wax coated, and the Zing It is not wax coated, and it's hollow cord, so you can braid this. You can braid the Zing It. The Lash It doesn't. It's not hollow core, you can't braid it. But I use that because of the color. It's just as strong and just as durable and hold up to the weather, it won't stretch, but you know.